Welcome to Athlete Unscripted. Thank you for being here, for pressing play, and taking a few minutes out of your day to join this space with me. This podcast is not about stats or scores, it's about the people behind them. We're sitting down to peel back the curtain on athletes, coaches, and the ones who help shape them. So whether you're an athlete, a fan, or just curious about what really goes on behind the scenes, you're in the right place. These are the raw conversations, the unfiltered moments, and the stories that show us who these people are outside of their sport. Welcome to Athlete Unscripted with me, Sydney Depp, and it starts right now. This episode is brought to you by Buffalo Construction. Building better starts long before the first shovel hits the ground. Their process begins with you, your goals, your vision, your needs. They lay the foundation for a project that's on time, on budget, and that's built to last. Since 1997, Buffalo Construction has been transforming big ideas into built realities with a team that's just as passionate about relationships as they are about results. From your first sketch, maybe on a napkin, to the final walkthrough, Buffalo meets you exactly where you are. They collaborate, communicate, and deliver every step of the way. You're not just getting a builder, you're gaining a partner. So bring them an idea and they'll bring it to life. Learn more at buffaloconstruction.com. Building better together. Welcome back to Athlete Unscripted. I'm your host, Sydney Depp, and today we have a very exciting guest here. We're actually in his office, giving you a little inside look today. We are sitting down with Louisville men's basketball head coach, Pat Kelsey. Welcome, Coach.
Thank you, Sydney. It's great to be here. Appreciate you having me.
Super excited to have you. I mean, it's such an honor to have you here on the show. I want to give a little bit of insight to our viewers, people that are watching that don't know a lot about your coaching history. Mm-hmm. You touch on that you coached at Winthrop, and then maybe that 24-hour period where you were at Massachusetts, mm-hmm. and then, College of Charleston for a couple years. Share a little bit about, your journey up to this point, getting here at Louisville.
Yeah, I think, it goes back to when I first started. I was a high school coach. And my mentor, a guy named Skip Prosser, was a high school coach as well, a lot longer than I was. But I always really admired that he never forgot where he came from and not forgot down deep that he was a high school coach first and foremost. My high school coach, Joe Schoenfeld, who's a famous coach up in Cincinnati, is one of my best friends in the world. He continues to not only be a major mentor, but a dear, dear, dear friend. In fact, he was in my wedding. How many high school coaches could say they were in their point guard's wedding? And that's... and gosh, so many people like Coach Schoenfeld that impacted my life and led me to where I am today. Guys like Skip Prosser and Joe Schoenfeld and my father. Although my dad wasn't a coach per se, he was a businessman, but I felt like he was a coach. I felt like I grew up in a coach's household, talking about the pick and roll at the breakfast table like Johnny. So even here, I sit here in this crazy office. You mentioned I'm in this office. Everybody sees that social media thing that when I first got the job and I walked in and I said, man, this is a cool lounge. They said, no, this is your office. I was like, no way. So it is kind of a little bit still embarrassing to look around and go, this is all my office. It's kind of crazy. I still all harken back to Elder High School in 1999 and 2000 and 2001 when I was the head freshman coach in the Greater Catholic League in Cincinnati, Ohio. And you just think about that journey, being an assistant coach for many years, getting my first head coaching opportunity at Winthrop. Mm-hmm. You mentioned the 24 hours I was the head coach at the University of Massachusetts. And the people up in Boston don't think have forgiven me. I want to go to the Reds Fenway game against the Red Sox this year. Hopefully they've forgotten about it if I get up there. And don't boo me out of the stadium. But, everybody's journey is different, and you have to follow your heart. And I felt like I've done that. Mm-hmm. I've been extremely blessed, extremely lucky. And heck, Sydney, now I'm sitting here as the head coach at the University of Louisville.
Heck yeah.
I'm a year in, and I still say that, and I get goosebumps.
I mean, we're hyped up about it. I love it. I'm so glad you're here, and now all of that led you here. And you say you're about three things. I've heard you say this: your faith, your family, and your hoop. So we're going to dive into those three things today. You ready to roll?
Yeah.
All right. We're going to start off by talking about your hoop. ACC Coach of the Year.
Yeah.
I mean, first off, congratulations.
Thank you.
You've brought this new energy. You've revived this program. You've revived the city, it feels like. And I wanted to ask, how does it feel to receive such an honor your first year in the ACC?
Well, you said you have, it's not I, it's we. We have. Humbling that you even say that. It's so many people going to the revival of this program, the revival of this city. It's almost embarrassing that they give one award and they make it the head coach of the year. It should be staff of the year. It should be team of the year. That's what I believe we are here. We stress and we harp on 25 strong. That's a very symbolic number. There's more than 25, but the wind at our back that we get from our administration, every piece of this program, facilities, marketing, ticket sales, fundraising, compliance, academics, I'm missing a bunch. Our medical team, our mental health team. I mean, I could go on and on and on. My assistant coaches, I think I have the best staff in the country. Our student managers, our graduate assistants, our walk-ons and our scout team guys, our scholarship players. It is everybody moving in the same direction and hunting a championship on every single thing we do every single day. So might not be the answer that you want. I'm humbled that they gave me an award of Coach of the Year, but I really believe it's the collective unit, the power of the unit, which is what we say every day.
Power of the unit. So good. And I just admire how much you admire your team, the people around you. I mean, because you can't do it on your own. It really is a team effort, 25 strong, power of the unit. I'm with you on all of those things. So I admire that you just totally gave the credit to everyone around you with you, because you can't do it alone. So
thank you.
You're from Cincinnati, as am I. So growing up, just
what high school?
I went to Springboro High School.
Okay, yeah. So just like in Louisville, Cincinnati's the city where you ask where you went to high school. I learned that early on. So everybody I meet from Louisville, I say, where'd you went to high school? I don't know why we do that, but we do that. I'm very, very proud to say I'm a graduate of Elder High School.
So good.
I recruited a young man named Maverick Morgan. He's going to watch this and be like, wow, I got a shout out from Springboro. And he broke my heart and went somewhere else. I think he went to Illinois, but you win some, you lose some. But anyway, I got off track a little bit there. Yeah.
No, I mean, you grew up just up the road, and did you ever imagine that you would be coaching at a program like this? I mean, so close to home, all your family, but also just the name, Louisville Basketball.
It's crazy. It's crazy when you think about it that way. The journey, a coach's journey, a person's journey as they go throughout their life, and you obviously have dreams and you have aspirations. And I was led into this profession from people that I admired and looked up to. When you get in, you obviously look and go, man, if I could become a head coach. I think Rick Pitino said this. I read this one time, that he said the best Division I coaching job is the one that you can get. The first Division I head coaching job I got was at Winthrop, and man, what a phenomenal tradition. What a great place for a young coach to start his career. I was blessed to have a lot of success there. Led to the head coaching job at the College of Charleston. 3 phenomenal years. We had a lot of success, made mistakes, learned a lot of things. Then here I am, the head coach at the Power 5 level. And I've told people since I got the job, I'll never lose I'll never lose sight on that journey, because I get stuff from coaches all the time that you talk to and go, Coach, what's some advice you would give me? I'm young in the coaching world. I'm a director of basketball operations. I'm a GA. I'm a student manager. I'm a young assistant coach at a lower level at Division I. What's some advice you can give? And gosh, I just remember being at those stages, wondering, thinking, will I ever get there? Will I ever have that opportunity? And there's no guarantee. You have to be extremely blessed. You got to be extremely lucky. You got to work extremely hard. You got to surround yourself with really talented people. But God is great. God is great. And I'll always just truly appreciate walking in this beautiful building, the Kieber Center, every day, walking in the Yum Center, looking up, seeing 22,000 empty seats staring at me, and knowing when basketball comes around, there's going to be 20,000 rear ends in those seats. Yeah. It's awesome.
Pack it out.
It's awesome. Pack it out.
Good.
And just having that joy in your work every day and that sense of appreciation for what you have. I love doing these type of things and selling our program because we have such a great thing to sell. But that classroom out there, that practice floor is where I'm the happiest. And I can't wait to get that workout at 1 o'clock and help our guys take another step toward hopefully a championship.
Awesome. You've been walking in these doors for over a year now.
Yeah.
And so I really want to reflect back on year one. I mean, we're looking ahead, but we're going to kind of year one in review a little bit. So you had an immediate impact coming into this program. The Cardinals opened the season with a win over Morehead State, 93-45. I mean, huge win. You showcase a revitalized team on that court, and that first win. What was the feeling walking into the locker room, seeing your guys there, and celebrating? What was that like?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm glad you said it. The journey of a season, we always say the journey, right? The season's a lifetime. We always say, I don't know why my mentor used to say this all the time, the season's a lifetime. Babies are born, people die, there's ups, there's downs, there's goods, there's bads. It's important, and I tell our guys all the time, whether you win a preseason game against a non-Division I team or you beat Clemson on ESPN in a nationally televised game with ACC championship implications, you got to enjoy the wins because we work so darn hard. We put in so much time. The sacrifices that people make, both from their family, physically, mentally, spiritually, all those things, you have to enjoy it. So it doesn't matter if we're beating Morehead in our first official Power 5 win at the University of Louisville, or you're winning a scrimmage in the preseason. We enjoy, But you know what? That next day we turn the page, we get up, we forget about that one, and we focus on what we say is the most important thing in the history of our program, and that's the next thing you do. But that was a great locker room, and we enjoyed that night. But as I mentioned, the season is full of the next challenge, and shortly after that, got punched in the mouth by Tennessee, and I think that was a big wake-up call for our team, and we got better because of it. Went down to the Bahamas, played really well, got punched in the mouth again with some really debilitating injuries on our team, responded again. We had a resilient team that just continued to fight and did some great things.
Absolutely, and I think it goes into the energy of building a daily culture within your team, within the staff, within this program, not just on game nights. How do you do that?
Yeah, I think that's part of the secret sauce. At least with us, it's being totally immersed in that next thing, the present. And I know I say it, I just said it before, the most important thing in the history of the program is the next thing we do. And that's the weightlifting session that's going on right now with the best strength coach in the United States of America, Eli Floyd. And it's excellence in that. And we have our workout later on this afternoon. It's constantly harping on not looking back, which you're making me do a lot of today, which is fine.
We'll get past it, don't worry.
And then not looking forward and worrying about 2 years from now, next year, the game in November. It's about being great today. And we just stack those days over and over again. It sounds really cliche. I've said this before, my job is not to be the CEO, it's the CRO, not the Chief Executive Officer, it's the Chief Reminder Officer, and that's reminding our guys every single day what the standard is. And important thing is I hold myself to that same standard because, if I'm preaching excellence in the next thing and then I'm not embodying it, living it, doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, I won't make you reflect back for too much longer, but there is a key point near the end of the season, in postseason, that I want to touch on. You took this team to the ACC tournament championship game, and that made history as the furthest they've ever gone in the ACC tournament. Looking back at that time there at the tournament, was there a game or a moment that you thought to yourself, oh my gosh, we're doing something, we're making history here?
Yeah. First of all, it's we. It wasn't I. I led them. We did it. I don't know. I think one of the most magical, special moments for me this year, and there was a lot of them, but the one that will always be very, very, very impactful for me is senior night. Because in this new era, You know, you hear from fans a lot that, gosh, like, we wish it was the old days, and when you had guys that were here from their freshman year to their senior year, and you get to know them, and you cheer for them for several years, and I got that. And those are going to still happen. That's going to still be the case, but there is going to be a lot of Chucky Hepburns and Terrence Edwards and, you know, those guys that come in for 1 year that make a major impact. And when Chucky Hepburn checked out of the game for the last time and kissed the floor, you talk to people around town, and they mention that moment emotionally, how special that was. And that to me is when he came over and gave me a big hug. Still get goosebumps thinking about it. It was one of the really, really, really cool things and memories that I'll have for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm. And you watch these athletes evolve. You play a part in their lives, and you're a father figure, a leader, a friend. I mean, you fill a lot of roles for these guys, and I'm sure your relationships with them are also impactful on both sides of it.
One of the cool things about this profession, I think, is one of the special things is just the relationships you have. You coach many, many, many players, and there's some as time goes on that you're closer with others, but I take great pride in feeling that my guys feel comfortable, that they can always call me. I had a 30-minute conversation with a former player, one of my first players I ever recruited at Winthrop on Sunday. He called me, and not in a tough place in his life, but at a time of transition, and he was just picking my brain on ideas, and just to get off that phone and to feel like he felt compelled to call me and ask life advice. I mean, I have former players on my staff like Jermaine Ukegbu, Tom Popovac, Kyle Zunick. I'm missing somebody right now. That's just so much fun that those guys know that I love them and I care about them, and the relationship's not just 4 years, it's 40 years. And that's pretty special.
Yeah, building a bond for life, really, because you go through so much together, practice, meetings, games, traveling, just life, and you know, these teams and staff, coaches, everybody. It's a family. It's a family-like environment, and I think that, you know, it all starts with the leadership and flows down that way. So I love that you're creating that culture within this program, but you also came in with a hot word, and that is revival. So your mom actually told me you have a phrase or a word everywhere you've been, and it just kind of stamps the season from the beginning. Where did that phrase come from? Where did that word revival come from?
Yeah, so I'm still kind of chewing on what maybe we could have moving forward. Like at Winthrop, for instance, it's in Rock Hill, South Carolina, so we came up with this phrase, rock the hill. And we wanted it to be kind of our roll tide. And there's so much history and tradition here, and the fan base has so many traditions, and I don't want to change any of that, and I think we have so much, but we felt last year was the right time to have a little something to hang our hat on, and I think the word revival was appropriate. I'm a Zach Bryan fan. Obviously, he had the song Revival last year. Coach Kloman, Brian Kloman, who's been with me a long time. I've been a head coach, I don't know what this is, 14 years, 15 years, whatever it is. And Brian's been with me the majority of that and kind of can finish my sentences a little bit. You know, like when you're with somebody so long. And I think he was the first one that when we got the job, he sent me like a Apple Music kind of thing of the revival. And he talked about changing the end of the word to VILLE. So I think I got to point to the passer, which is a Dean Smith thing when somebody throws you an assist. So I got to point to Brian Kloman on that. It's pretty cool. And then I think it was senior night after Chucky kissed the floor, and I started going back up into the student section to high five because my mom reminded me I used to do that. Don't get too cool now that you're at the Power 5 that you can't do that. And when I was coming back down off the steps, they played the song Revival, and that was pretty cool.
Oh my gosh, what a moment.
Yeah.
What a moment. I'm sure that's another moment you'll remember forever. Year one, senior night, season's coming to an end, and then they're playing the song that you stamped the season with the title.
That's how on it, like our game day operations people are, all of those people, Lottie and her staff, they're on it. The game atmosphere is so important. Part of it is we got to be good, right? And part of it is the fan base has to have that fire within them. And this fan base does like few others. But then that game ops, man, like the timing of the music and and they're on it.
This is smoke, the fire,
all that stuff, man.
Yeah.
You go in there and you're like, you know, at lower levels, you maybe don't have the type of manpower and personnel. So I had to be way more involved, and probably to the chagrin of some of the people I had to deal with or got to work with at those other places, but maybe they didn't have quite the manpower, so I would make suggestions and things like that. And the awesome part about was the synergy, the relationships I built at those places, and we were able to build cool game atmospheres together. When I got here, it was like, man, they're on it. It was pretty big time from moment one.
You've said before, there's no need to create passion for this program. It's already here.
Yeah.
And it is.
Yeah.
But your energy and your style, they go beyond the basketball program. Your energy has kind of flowed through the streets of Louisville and impacted more than just this team. I mean, you're walking around campus telling students to pack out the Yum Center.
Yeah.
You're driving down the road, throwing LZF out your window.
Yeah.
And just last weekend, you were at Super Regionals for Louisville Baseball, leading the Cards chant in front of the whole crowd. I mean, from your passion to your fashion, you are making an impact more than I think you can see. But can you see at least a little bit of the impact that you're making?
Well, thank you for saying that. First of all, you're right. The energy, the fire, the heartbeat within this fan base is there. It was a tough couple years, you know, prior to our staff, the programs, the change in leadership. But there wasn't apathy, right? It was here. I said there was just like this little spark, right? And then it hit. It worked. Timing was great. We got lucky, blessings, all those things, but then it was just waiting to be ignited. And I think we were a little bit of that gasoline on that spark that made it go. So I appreciate you saying that. I just think it's really important. I learned this from my mentor, Coach Prosser, is to be true to who you are, be genuine to who you are. I've said this before. He used to quote Shakespeare, but he called him Billy Shakespeare. There's a saying, to thine own self be true. And then the quote I always talk about from Francis Davis, who's a civil rights leader who lives in Utah, but he's from rural Mississippi. And he says, be who you is and not who you ain't, because if you ain't who you is who you ain't. I like to have fun. I like to kind of express my personality. It's not for everybody. It could probably be fodder for other programs and making fun of me. I've been made fun of a ton. I don't stinking care. My girls roll their eyes and they probably get embarrassed a little bit, but I'm going to be who I am, and I'm going to be on campus. I want to high five students. I'm going to do the Cards chant. The lady behind me at the baseball game, I got to give her a little bit of shout out, because the camera guy was looking at me, so I knew it was going to go on the big screen within 30 seconds, and I was going to give the old L's up. She goes, you got to do the Cards chant. You got to do the Cards chant.
She had you up there.
She had me fired up, and I looked at her and I go, I don't know how to do the R. She goes, what do you mean? I go, the R. I know the C, I know the A. And Peyton says it's like that and that, I think. So if anybody goes back and looks at it, I completely botched the R. It was bad.
You just put your arm somewhere.
Somewhere. It just went like that. And but it was fun. And I've worked on it a little bit, so the next time I do it, I'll be better.
You're prepared.
Yeah.
You'll nail it. I think you did great. I mean, you got the crowd hyped up, and look, we're going to Omaha, so.
How awesome is that?
Oh, it's incredible.
Dan McDonald's such an amazing person. I saw an internet post that he gave talking about his faith and the platform that he has and the fearlessness with which he puts himself out there and talks about his weaknesses as a human being and the strength that he finds in his faith in his Lord. In the Lord. It's awesome. I sent him a text early today when I saw it. I said, Coach, this is stinking awesome. And immediately he just deflects and turns it back to our players for being at the game and the Cards chant and all that. And I'm like, Coach, what an awesome leader, what an awesome role model for young men, for this city. And gosh, to put us, in the national spotlight here in June, to go to Omaha, one of the great spectacles in American sports, is freaking awesome. And I'm so excited for him and those guys, city of Louisville and the university. It's going to be awesome.
Mm-hmm. And we have so many incredible coaches and staff members and people in all of our athletic programs on campus, and Louisville athletics as a whole. We've got some really powerful people in leadership, but I think that, you all don't really want to take the credit. No,
there's a great thing. There's just amazing people and coaches and leaders. Mm-hmm. And we all celebrate and cheer for each other. Justine had me up to the field hockey field and allowed me to shoot some goals, and I was terrible. Danny allowed me to go down and serve volleyball before the game. I actually did a little bit better there. Now Dan taking over in leadership, just an awesome dude. Jeff Walls, right down we share a building. Mm-hmm. And I just walk right down that hallway, open a door, and I can go down and sit across from a desk from a guy that's been to 4 Final Fours and is going to be a future Hall of Famer that pours into me. I mean, I could go on and on. Jeff Brom, the story's well documented, but gosh, he's last year and he's in camp getting ready for the season. And he flies to the Bahamas to watch our first game against just kind of a makeshift thrown together team. So it wasn't that big of a game, and he's there. Just really cool that everybody roots for each other and celebrates each other's successes.
Oh, it's awesome to see, especially as a fan of Louisville. If you're passionate about baseball, but you see, the baseball coach supporting basketball, it's like, oh, there's little connections everywhere, and you can find a story somewhere and find something to be passionate about in every athletic program here, I think.
No doubt.
What about your faith, what role does it play in your life? I mean, how does it keep you grounded and shift your perspective on a daily basis?
What you just said is exactly what it does. It's my center, it's my core, it's how I deal with adversity, it's where I gain my strength. It's the center of my life, that faith, family, and hoop. Faith, family, and hoop, it starts with faith. Dan said it on that internet post, like, this platform, being the head coach at the University of Louisville at the Power 5 level, people want to talk to me, right? And you have interviews, you're in press conferences all the time, and anytime you have a chance to profess your faith and to share with other people the power of the relationship with Jesus Christ, and that's a responsibility I have as a Christian, being at this level and being this platform to share with people, and hopefully it can have an impact on their lives as well.
What impact has it had on your life? Growing up, getting here, managing the success and the failures, because you're going to fail a lot in this profession and in life. Yeah. But you're also going to have a lot of mountaintop moments too.
No doubt. And it just started with my upbringing, my mom and dad. I'm very biased, but I think I have the greatest mom and dad in the history of the world. They raised us in a loving household that was based around faith and family. They exemplified it. The way they live their life, the way they treat people, the way they serve others, the way they sacrifice, love their neighbor. And, I just think that's the greatest role a parent has, is to help lead them closer to the Lord and to be examples of how to live their life, how to love Christ with everything you got, how to sacrifice for others, and just be a person that lives in the image and likeness of the Lord. And that's what my mom and dad did for me. And as I sit here as a leader of an organization, and I have young men looking up to me, I think it's important for me to show them the impact that it's had in my life. And the thing I make sure I convey to those guys all the time is, I'm flawed, I'm a human being, and we all have weaknesses, but it's where I gain my strength, and that'll never change.
You're in this role and you have an opportunity to impact your team, but also you have a platform and a voice. Mm-hmm. And I love that you're using it for good and for the glory of God. Yes. So I love that. Well, we touched on hoop, we touched on your faith, and now let's talk about your family. You mentioned your parents, but I mean, it's apparent that you have your family's support, willing to move with you, support you in pursuing your passion. Mm-hmm. And, what did that move here to Louisville look like as far as them? Did they have a say? How involved were they in that decision?
Well, they're going to watch this, so they're going to check me on anything that's not 100% accurate. My wife, Lisa, is, I said it before, the #1 recruit that I've ever signed. And I said this at my press conference. I just hope she doesn't hit the transfer portal on me. But she's my rock. She hates the limelight. You know, the one time in a press conference when somebody asked me about the adversity that we're facing in the season and how a loss from Tennessee, how can you possibly, and I said, like, hold on. I mean, I'm the head coach at the University of Louisville. I got 3 healthy kids. My wife's hot. And when I got home that night, she goes, why? Just leave me out of it. I'm over here minding my own business. But she's just the job she does at home, raising our children. I think you talk about one of the hardest but most important jobs, you know, in the world, and that's that of a mother. And she's the best of the best. My 3 children are my pride and joy. I tell recruits when they're sitting next to their parents, and I look at them and I say, those 2 people, you are their most prized possession on planet Earth. Like the decision that you're going to make, and it's a grown-up decision where you're going to go, but they're handing you over to somebody in the most formative years of their life, and that's a huge, huge, huge responsibility. And I love those children like I love to breathe. And you know, moves are hard, moves are difficult. Like and in the coaching profession, there are a lot. You know, there's a lot of changes. I mean, we moved a lot of times. We went from the time we were married, Lisa and I moved to Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and then we moved back to Cincinnati, and then we moved from Cincinnati back to Rock Hill, South Carolina. We went from Rock Hill, South Carolina to Charleston, South Carolina, and then we moved to Louisville. And on most of those, if not all of them, there's changes of churches, there's changes of schools, there's new friends, there's new neighborhoods, there's new... And we're obviously really blessed in this move that we're moving to a special community, one that's very similar to the one I grew up in. And I think people from Louisville are going to say, hey, Cincinnati's... But there's a huge Catholic population, which is, you know, I'm Roman Catholic, and being a part of Holy Trinity Church has been a godsend for us. And that community and the friends that we've made has been very, very good. But like just moving to new schools, meeting new friends, that transition, that's hard at times. This community has opened their arms up to the Kelseys, and they have welcomed us in. We feel like Louisvillians. I think that's the way that you say it. But the transitions are difficult. Yeah. And the cool thing I always say in the coaching profession, as hard as it is for families and children to move, is when you talk to people that have done it and they get into their adult life, how special it is to have friends in different parts of the country, and they talk about how it makes you more well-rounded as a person. And when they look back on it, everybody always says, I wouldn't change anything. So transition's been great. My kids are doing great, and we're blessed to be here.
Yeah. I mean, there's no secret that Louisville as they fell in love with you, they also fell in love with your family. And I want to touch on this, specifically Johnny. Yeah. I mean, seeing him on the court before all the games, you know, national anthem, warming up, you know, throwing the ball around, your team almost taking him in as a little brother figure. I mean, at all the practices, from your perspective as Johnny's father, what has Johnny learned from this past year's team?
Well, Ruthie and Caroline prefer to be way more under the radar than Johnny. Something tells me he just doesn't mind being out in the limelight a little bit. So the girls maybe have a little bit more Lisa in them where they don't want that spotlight. Gosh, how blessed am I? I mean, here it is. I don't know when this is airing, but here we are in middle of June. And, you know, he doesn't come in with me because I come in crazy early. I'm like, the moment Starbucks, I shouldn't say Starbucks because we probably got sponsors, but they open at 5 on Brownsboro Road, and I'll first customer usually.
First car through the drive-thru.
He sleeps in a little bit. He's a little lazy in the morning, but Mom brings him in here, and he's here all day. And I don't really ever see him unless we go to practice because he's rebounding, he's passing, he's hanging out with the managers and the GAs. How cool is that? How blessed am I? I give Josh Hurd a lot of credit, who's a phenomenal leader. Just the way he lives his life, the type of family man, the type of father and husband he is, obviously type of leader he is. One of the hardest working guys I've ever been around. But he understands the big picture, and he doesn't mind Johnny being here all the time. He's a good kid, and he he's not one of the, he's a good kid.
Yeah.
Probably learns too many cuss words from being around 20, 21, 22 years old, but there's worse places that he can be than the gym. He is. He's a son of a coach. He's very advanced from a basketball mind standpoint, just because it's like by osmosis. He's around it all the time. And what a great youth basketball community this is. He's just excited to be a part of it. Oh, yeah. Having him stand next to me at the national anthem, I don't lose sight of how special that is. I mean, the pressure of the game, the stakes, how high the stakes are at that moment. You look around and, our marketing staff does an unbelievable job of getting big-time national anthem singers. I think a national anthem sets the tone for a big-time game. And each time I'm like, that was big time. But I do take that moment, when I'm honoring the fallen, I'm honoring the people that have served this country. I look over and I go, this is pretty stinking cool. My son's standing right next to me. And I still bend over and give him a kiss on the head right afterwards. He's probably to the point where he's like, oh my God, Dad, don't kiss me on the head. I don't care. That's my little boy, and he'll always be my little boy. And it's pretty cool.
Well, other than those cuss words you mentioned, what do you think the team has learned from Johnny on the flip side?
I don't know. He's not like an annoying little kid. He's got a good way about him. He's got a good disposition. If I ever felt like he was like getting in the way, I'd say something to him. But I don't know if they could learn anything from him. What I hope you learn from a 12-year-old kid or 11-year-old kid last year. And there's this book that I love that I read to our guys 2 or 3 times a year called The Precious Present. And it's a parable book, and it takes about 15 minutes to read, but it just talks about being present, the precious present. And it's the story of a little boy that, when he's 9, 10 years old, the joy, the humility, just basically the naivety, I think that's the word, the way you say it, of a young person when they just have the joy of the world. They haven't felt the pressures of the world. They haven't let life in any way, shape, or form beat them down. Trolls on social media, the evil, they just see possibility. They see the wonder of the world. As we know, as we all get older, that changes a little bit. But if you can keep that mentality, he's probably getting past that. He's getting close to the teenage years when they get a little too cool. We all know those teenage years. But I hope they look at a little boy and go, man, I remember when I first picked up a basketball and I put on that uniform, whatever uniform that was, the YMCA, Holy Trinity, 3rd grade team, and just the joy I had in playing the game. I think that's the thing I'd like for them to look at that little Johnny and remember the joy they had when they were a child. Continue that joy in their work throughout their life.
Remember the passion and where it began.
That's it.
They almost have like a childlike mindset.
That's a great thing, and it's funny, you said stories. If Chris Paul, and I'll probably send him this clip, he probably won't watch the whole interview because he's heard me talk too much over the years when I was coach. I sound like I'm name dropping right now, but literally, CP was a guy I coached and helped recruit when I was at Wake Forest. Coach Prosser, when it was our scout, used to allow us to give a little bit of a motivational talk to the team. And I had this jersey, and I still have it. I think my mom sent it to me, and it's my first basketball jersey, Northside KFC, number 13. And it was like, I held it up, and it was tiny. I'm a little guy anyway. I know I get made fun for that, but I don't care. Be who you is.
Exactly.
And I remember holding up that jersey, and CP was a sophomore. It was 2005, and we were playing a very high stakes game. I don't know, we were playing Duke at the Joel Coliseum at Wake Forest, and I just held that up, and I go, this is my jersey when I was 5 years old playing for Northside KFC. Ryan Schran was the point guard, 2 years older than me on that team, and his daughter was on the Final Four volleyball team this year for the Louisville Cardinals.
Wow.
And he was like an idol to me. I looked up to him. Ryan Schran was like a like a basketball god at the time. And I just said play with this joy, the same joy you had. And my mom always laughed when I wore that when I was 5 years old and I went to the jump circles. They used to do jump balls. And I stood 5. I didn't know anything from anything, but I had this big grin and smile on my face at the jump ball going against a kid 2 years older than me. He was 2 heads taller than me. And she always talked about that joy. And CP always made fun of me because, Coach, there's no way you fit into that stinking jersey. But I did.
Oh, that's a great story. I mean, that's where it all started, and that grin and just the attitude toward the game. You know, always remember that. And I think Johnny could be the perfect reminder for the guys. Well,
he looks like his mom, which is the good news. Thank God. But.
Oh gosh. Well, we talk about your team. And as I got to know a lot of your players on my podcast here on Athlete Unscripted, they spoke so highly of you and about how special your all's relationship was. However, one of them did say that if a shoe comes off during practice and it wasn't tied enough, you sprint to it and throw it as far as you can. Can you confirm that?
Yeah, that's confirmed. If anybody, it's on social media somewhere. When we were at the College of Charleston, they did a little thing about it and put it on social media. So, like, I don't know why, but one of my big pet peeves is when shoes come off. You see that in a game sometime, a guy plants his shoe. I don't know why. Like, I've picked that as one of the things. That's a hill I'm going to die on. Don't tie your shoe.
Yeah.
And so when we start doing it, if guys didn't tie their shoes tight enough and they come off, we had this thing where you pick it up and you threw it up in the stands at practice. And one time I jumped in a drill and I planted really hard and my shoe came off. And it was like slow motion. That shoe was like right there and it was like 3 feet from me, but it seemed like it was like 3 miles. I gotta get to that shoe. So I go to dive and sure enough, like 4 guys dive on it and get it before I do. We are in the practice facility at Charleston, which is no stands. So the thing is to throw it up in the stands. The guys, the entire team, you can see it on video, runs outside the practice gym, down the hall, into the arena, and chucks my shoe into like the upper rafters. Practice stopped, it was over. So that was fun.
Practice is over, guys.
That was it.
We're done here.
That was it.
We're done.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I was going to ask, where did that originate from?
I don't know. Just hated shoes coming off. Tie your shoe.
Tie your shoe, period.
Yeah, I don't know if we had many last year. Guys are tying them a little tighter.
They're probably learning their lesson.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, the new class comes in, they're like, one thing.
Tie your stinking shoes. No
Tie your shoes. Well, there's another quote that it's probably one of my favorite phrases now that you've said, make coffee nervous. Your energy's in your DNA. You're the front of the line when it comes to bringing the energy. Where does that energy come from? Where does it stem from? And have you always been that way, even growing up?
So the first person that introduced me as making coffee nervous was Skip Prosser, famous ACC coach, God rest his soul. He was hilarious, he was funny, he was quick-witted, all those things. But since I've been to Louisville, I'm pretty sure that originated with Muhammad Ali. Pretty sure he said something about making coffee. If that's wrong, shame on me, but I remember somebody saying that he originated that quote in some shape or form. As far as like my energy, I don't know. Like we all have strengths and weaknesses. We all have gifts and blessings. One of mine is the Lord just gave me a bunch of energy. I turned 50 like a month ago. So I don't know when maybe I have to start tapering it back a little bit. But we had workouts yesterday and there was a coach in the gym. And we had 2, so you had one at 1 and one at 2. And the 1 o'clock one ended, and there was about a 10-minute kind of break before the next one started. And I walk over, and he goes, "Coach, are you like this? Like, you like that every day?" And I sat there for a second. I go, "Yeah, pretty much every day." And there were a bunch of coaches around. They're like, "Yeah." And sure enough, that next hour when we coached the next group, it was kind of the same thing. I don't know. It's just who I am, and be who you is.
And I think that's great for our viewers and the fans of Louisville and the people around the world that watch to know you're the same when you walk in that gym that you are when you walk in the that you are when you walk in here.
But
bring the same energy.
I do get like, gosh, Coach, you're relatively calm on the sideline. And I am. I think. I mean, if somebody sits near the bench and you think otherwise, go ahead and say it. But, I always feel, for the most part, the hay's in the barn, if you will, by the time you get to the game, and the preparation, the energy, the focus, all that stuff at practice. Obviously, my job on the sideline is, when I manage the game, is to obviously understand the flow of the game, the dynamics of where guys are at mentally, all those things, game planning. So I try to stay a little bit more calm. There's some times where those guys in those striped shirt, my favorite people in the world. I love those guys that wear those striped shirts, but I can get a little bit excited. Got a little bit too excited during the NCAA tournament late in the game, but that's another story. Don't get me all fired up about that again.
We'll skip past that part.
That part.
Well, on your journey here, maybe growing up, maybe in adulthood, who would you say has had the biggest impact on your life?
I think my father, my grandfather, the coaches in my life, Coach Schoenfeld, Coach Prosser. I have a bunch of other, basketball mentors, my mother. When I was talking about those four, I was talking about male mentors in my life, coaching mentors, life mentors, my mom, my dad, some of those people that I just mentioned.
What's one thing that they taught you, one of them taught you or told you, that will stick with you forever?
Like my father, I think more than anything, the gift I got is his belief in me. His belief in me. Sometimes when I didn't even believe in myself, just knowing how much my dad believed in me and that I could accomplish anything I set my mind to. And my mom is, in my opinion, a saint on earth. Just how much she loves people, how much she gives, how much she serves, how much she sacrifices. Coach Schoenfeld, my high school coach, he has a calling and a vocation to be a high school coach and a teacher, and the impact that he has on people's life. Coach Schoenfeld is so talented. If he decided to go into the business world, he'd be multi-millionaire. If he decided to go the college route and to grind through that, he would be one of the best coaches in the United States. But the impact that he makes on the people that he coaches and that he teaches. Skip Prosser, there's so many of them. That sense of gratitude, never delay gratitude, to be true to who you are, that Bill Shakespeare quote. Those are just picking one or two things of all the people. My grandfather, who was a milkman, and had 10 children in a 3-bedroom house and put 10 kids through 120 years of Catholic school education on a milkman's salary, and that commitment to his family and to his faith. I could go on, but those people that I mentioned that really helped shape me, those are just a few things that I would identify.
Those are all really powerful things and really great stories and things to look back on and say, my grandfather, my dad, and just get that passed down, those characteristics and those things passed down to you that you got to watch and see and observe growing up.
Well, I always, because Coach Prosser used an Emerson quote, I've said this many times on interviews, but Ralph Waldo Emerson said that, and Skip believed that this kind of embodied what his role was. This is what Coach Schoenfeld's was for me. This is what Coach Prosser was for me. This is what my mom and dad were for me. This is what my grandfather was for me. And then other people and mentors. And it was, our chief want in life is someone who can make us do what we can. In maybe it's a year I spent with one of these players. Maybe it's 4 years. Maybe it's 14 years that Brian Cloman spends with me. And I've learned so much from all of them. But if I can help people, push people to be the best they can be, like those mentors did to me, I feel like I will have considered my life a success.
You've learned a lot from those mentors, and I'm sure you've learned so much in your coaching career. What's one thing you've learned in the last year here at Louisville about yourself that you didn't know before?
Well, when you're climbing, right? When you're building, when you're climbing that ladder, if you will, whether it's from a high school coach to an assistant coach in the college to a head coach to a head coach to a Power 5 head coach, we all look out into the future at times. All I preach is being present, but you look and you dream, and there is that, can I? You know, there is. We all have it. And if anybody's out there saying, no, I just knew, you know, you felt really confident that the path that you were on when you had that opportunity, that you knew what you were going to do and how you were going to do it, and you're going to be able to have success. When you look back, you know, when you first step in, and I walked up on that podium, I felt very confident, and I prayed before I stepped up on there that I could convey my message and do it in a way where people could feel my confidence and feed off of my energy and give us some momentum as we move forward from there. But, you know, when you're sitting in a locker room before you walk out into an arena with 20,000 people, or when you're sitting in this office before you go to that podium in front of the greatest fan base in the history of college basketball, there's always a little bit of doubt. Or there's always that little bit of anxiety, the heart beating fast, the butterflies. I tell players, if you have a little of that before a game, that's a good thing. Mm-hmm. That means that blood is boiling inside you to drive you to be great. But I don't like to look back, but you do feel good that, like, we belong here. Mm-hmm. We belong here, and we can build a championship program, and that's what we're determined to do.
And you're going to do it. I mean, you've had a very successful year one, but your work's not done yet. The work in this program it's still building. We're still working. It's not over. I mean, you brought in a very powerful recruiting class. I mean, a new team, a new season, a new opportunity just on the horizon. And what's special about this class?
Man, that's what's awesome about coaching. The opportunity, the possibilities, the potential of each and every team, and how each team you coach is different. Coach Prosser used to take pride in that. Like when we had our first team meeting, and I told our guys, this group, as we move forward and you get to next year, it'll never be the same as this. Last year's group was special in so many ways. This group is so much special in so many ways. And we say the journey of a million miles begins with a single step. And when we had that first team meeting a week ago, and we were all in that room, and we looked at each other in the eye, and I said, you know, that power of the unit, which is based on the most powerful force in the universe, and that's love. And even though you have never met you love each other on day one. And to start this journey is exciting. The potential, the possibilities, the championship aspirations, the championship possibilities are real with this group and this team. But you can't do anything about November. You can only do something about today. And that is what this team's been focused on throughout the first 8 days that we've been together. And I can't wait to get, no offense, but to get through with this interview and get back out there and get back after it.
Well, we're almost done here. Don't worry. I'll get you back out there. Well, Michael Brown Jr., I want to touch on him specifically. PG1, I was actually here in this office with you when you got the call that he, got committed. We were, recording it secretly. You didn't know what was going on, but he called and committed here to Louisville. What was that moment like internally, knowing that you're building this team, you're building this program, and then seeing the puzzle pieces come together of guys you're grabbing from the portal, and then, Michael, just seeing the pieces come together. What's that feel like internally?
Yeah, I mean, the awesome thing about Michael, and obviously his profile is very high. Obviously, he was an extremely decorated recruit. What's awesome about Michael is down there, he wants to be one of the guys. Obviously, he's extremely talented. He's blessed. He's got special all over him. But, his humility, I think, is what makes him great. The sacrifices he makes on a daily basis to his teammates, not walking out on that floor and saying, I'm this and you're that. Like that is one of the things. His makeup is what makes him good. And I've said this time and time again, that's because of his upbringing, the job his parents did at raising him. But that was a cool moment. Obviously, that was one that was on film. You guys tricked me that day. I thought we were doing an interview like this, and then you guys had it all planned. So that was really cool. But, you know, you work so hard to develop relationships, and you pour into these recruitment. So anytime you get a call like that and a kid commits, major life commitment that they make to you, it's that moment of joy, and you happen to catch that one on film, and it was really special.
It's so special and so exciting for you, for the program, and for the city of Louisville and every fan out there to know that you're bringing in people that are going to make an impact here and are ready to go. They're ready to get out there and play, and we're all excited about it. So I have to know the answer to this. Year 2, are you sticking with revival, or is there a new word that we should be on the lookout for?
I'm not ready to, I think revival it's been revived. Okay, I think that'll always be a special word, and there's times when I sign an autograph. Sometimes there's a bunch of people, so I don't have time. It takes a little bit longer, but I'll write, Revival 25 on it. I think the revival was 25. The marketing people here are way smarter than I am. They might have other thoughts, but I think it's been revived. It's about the next step. Now, whether that this year, this next step needs a word, I don't know yet. I haven't felt it. I got a few things up my sleeve, and I'll get with Lottie and those guys, but might have something cooking.
Well, we're excited to see whatever it is you've got cooking. Last thing, if you could give one message to Card Nation about year 1 here, and then what you're looking forward to in year 2, what would it be?
I mean, gosh, if I had to say one thing to the fan base, is just how special y'all are. This is special. I've been a lot of places, but this is a major league city. It's a major league city. There might not be a major professional sports team here, but this is a big time city, over 1 million people, unbelievable culture, restaurants, all. But the heartbeat, you feel it, of this town is U of L athletics. You get stopped all the time and you hear people's stories about, I've been a fan for this long. The first game I went to was with my grandparents. It was at Freedom Hall. It was this. It literally is part of the DNA of this town. And what you guys do for us, it can't be understated. When we talk to recruits, it's one of the first things we talk about is the passion that you guys have. We talk about the greatest environment in college basketball, in my opinion, is when the Yum Center is rocking. So we need you guys to continue to come out. We're going to have a phenomenal year. You guys have as big of an impact on us having a championship season as anybody. Thank you. Never delay gratitude. Card Nation, I love you. L's up. We'll see you soon.
Awesome, Coach. Well, thank you so much for your time. And I just want to say you are an influencer. I don't think there's anybody that you meet that you don't leave an impact on. And I have to say, you have influenced me.
Let's go.
So thank you again. And thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you next season.